guys, it's me, Graham Otteson, again, Graham from Gourdlandia, and I thought I'd talk with you today about drying gourds. How do you dry a gourd? I'll let you in on a big secret. The secret to drying a gourd well is to grow it well. So that means that your plant needs to have plenty of sun, full sun, and be in good, rich, healthy soil. And the most important thing is that the gourds need plenty of time on the vine. They need a long time on the vine. That's why we start them indoors here in upstate New York, and we leave them on the vine until the vine dies, so we're sure they get as much, as mature as possible. So these gourds, this plant was started from seed in early May and planted out at the end of May, and we're going to leave it, like I said, as long as possible so that the gourds have as much time to mature and get that nice thick hard shell. They get big pretty quickly, maybe 5 or 6 weeks after the flower is pollinated. The gourd's pretty much to the full size, but it still needs time to mature or else it won't dry right. So in addition to growing the gourds well, in order to dry them, there's a bunch of things that you have to not do. You shouldn't drill any holes in them, because when you drill a hole in a gourd, that increases the chance that it'll rot. You're introducing bacteria. And you don't want to bring them indoors, because as it's drying, the skin's going to get all moldy, and you don't want that in your house. But the most important thing that you have to not do in order to dry the gourds right is to not throw them away when they start to look so nasty. It's going to get really nasty as the spots get bigger and bigger and the gourd is drying. You might think that it's rotting. A lot of people do. But you know now, don't throw your gourds away. Nope. So people who grow lots and lots of gourds just leave them on the vine all winter long. The vine is dead, but they leave them out there to dry in the field because they're so much easier to harvest when they don't weigh anything, rather than picking up these 10 or 20 pound gourds and trying to store them on top of each other. We put ours in this shed only to try to keep the critters out, because a gourd is a perfect house for a little mouse, right? It comes with food and it's insulated and it's just a perfect shelter. Fortunately, the mice and the chipmunks and the squirrels tend to choose the gourds that are really thin or that they've got some kind of defect that they can get in. They're not usually the ones that you want anyway. But we put ours in here. It's helpful to have these wooden slats to dry it on. If I'm drying a gourd out in the field, or like the ones in my backyard where I just was, I'm going to tuck a little bit of straw under them to keep them elevated off the ground just a little bit. So this is going to be full of green gourds later in the fall. A neighbor picked this one for us. We weren't very happy about that. So yeah, because gourds should be left on the vine as long as possible. It was a young neighbor. Anyway, don't pick your gourds, don't harvest them until the vine is dead. Some people say you can wait till the vine is brown, about 4 inches from, the stem is brown 4 inches from the gourd. That tells you that it's really not getting much else from the vine. But we just wait, because as I was saying, the gourd that's really mature will be the one that dries well. The ones that don't dry so well tend to be the ones that just didn't have enough time. Maybe they were late to set fruit. They didn't set fruit until August or mid-August or something like that. The drying time varies from gourd to gourd. The smaller ones tend to dry pretty quickly, just by late fall or early winter. So like a banana gourd or a sonari gourd, those guys dry very quickly. The bigger ones, the bushels, the African wine kettles, they may take until next summer to dry. But in general, you can think that the gourd will be dry and ready to go when it's time to plant next year's seeds. So right around, late April, early May. So as I was saying before, if a gourd was late to set fruit, it didn't even start on the vine until maybe early to mid-August, then it may not have enough time on the vine to get that nice thick hard shell, so it won't dry right. If it's thin, and didn't have enough time, it won't dry right, and you'll get perhaps some shriveling or cracking, or the skin of the gourd just won't be perfect. So I always just set those aside to use as practice gourds, and it's not that you did anything wrong, it's just that the ones that were late to set fruit just didn't have enough time. My major point with this video is to not throw your gourds away when they start to look like this. So many people come here to Gourdlandia and they say, I tried to grow gourds one time, but they all rotted, so I threw them away. This gourd just needs a bath.